When I returned from medical leave, my coworkers had divided up my projects and erased my name from the tracker. "We thought you were gone for good," one said with a shrug. "You're lucky we even left you a desk." I smiled, sat down, logged in, and triggered a scheduled email that said, I had been working at Kessler and Finch, a mid-sized marketing firm in Richmond, Virginia, for 9 years. I wasn't flashy or loud, but I was solid, consistent. I handled long-term clients and large-scale campaigns, especially ones that required careful attention and tight deadlines. My name was on every major internal document for a reason. I wasn't some junior account assistant. Hell, I trained half the people in that office. But all of that meant nothing the moment I got sick. It started as fatigue, then the dizziness, then the scans. It was a tumor, not cancerous, but invasive. I needed surgery and recovery. My doctor ordered 3 months of medical leave, strict, non-negotiable. I informed HR, sent documentation, and even set up a shared folder for the team. Every file, every contact, every vendor detail, even strategy notes, they were all there. I made it easy. I got a couple get well soon emails. Then it went silent. 3 months later, I returned. A bit thinner, a little slower, but back. I wore a navy blazer and carried a gift box of donuts because I still believed in goodwill. I walked in at 8:30 a.m., just like I always had. My ID still worked at the front desk, but when I reached our department's floor, things felt off. Nobody looked up. No smiles. Just silence and the soft clicks of keyboards. My nameplate was gone from the glass wall outside my office. That was the first hit. I opened the door anyway and found someone else's things inside. Her name was Lauren. She sat with one AirPod in and barely looked at me. "Oh, you're back?" she said like I was a ghost. "I think this is my office," I replied, keeping my tone even. They moved things around. My desk, my actual desk, had been shoved into the back corner by the window, near the copy machine. No privacy, no filing drawers, no monitor stand, just the bones. When I sat down and booted up my computer, I noticed something even worse. The project tracker, which I had built from scratch over 4 years, had been renamed. Not just renamed. My name was gone from every single line. Even the campaigns I had worked on for years, gone. The comments I'd left had been deleted. Client contact info, reassigned. I scrolled through with a growing pit in my stomach. Every single active project had a new owner listed. My responsibilities had been diced up and handed out like candy. I turned to Brett, one of the account managers I'd trained last year. "Did something happen to the tracker?" He didn't even turn fully around. "Oh, yeah. We, updated it." "Updated it? We thought you were gone for good," he said with a shrug. "Honestly, you're lucky we even left you a desk." Lucky. That word echoed in my head as my fingers hovered over the keyboard. I smiled. It wasn't a real smile. It was the kind you wear when you realize just how far someone's willing to go behind your back. I had trusted these people. I covered for them during their vacations. I helped them meet impossible deadlines. I brought coffee to late-night sessions. And they erased me the moment I stepped away. But they didn't know one thing. Before my leave, I had scheduled a delayed email, just in case. I opened Outlook, clicked Sent, and confirmed it had gone out at 8 a.m. that morning. The subject line? Project Integrity and Client Continuity, Urgent Audit Request. It was addressed to 2 of our top clients, plus the VP of Client Services and Legal. The body of the email laid out a detailed summary of how I had transferred all active project files into a shared backup system before my surgery, with timestamps and edit logs to ensure continuity. I included links and read-only access. I also asked the clients if they'd been informed of any formal account handoffs, as required by our contract terms. I used their language, the kind that screams legal compliance and breach of service. But I wasn't done. Attached to the email were 2 PDFs, a detailed list of all campaigns I had led or co-managed over the last 2 years, with client testimonials, budget sheets, and meeting notes, a timeline showing the date I went on medical leave and the date changes had been made in the tracker. many of which occurred while I was still listed as lead on accounts. Some of the edits happened while I was still in surgery. That email was going to light a fire, but that wasn't even the real revenge. See, a month before my leave, I had flagged a growing issue with vendor overbilling. Small charges at first, then bigger ones. I'd brought it up to Amanda, our department head, but she brushed it off. So I'd started a side file. Quietly, carefully, I compiled vendor invoices, internal purchase approvals, and inconsistencies in timestamps. I kept it on a private encrypted drive at home. And now that I was being shoved into a corner like old furniture, now that my name had been wiped like I never mattered, it was time to dust off that file. I watched the first few responses hit my inbox. From Client A, we were not informed of any change. We assumed my name was still lead. Please clarify. From Client B, this is unacceptable. Please set up a call immediately. From the VP of Legal, please forward any documentation you have regarding the unauthorized reassignment of accounts. This may require internal investigation. From Amanda, can we talk in my office? Oh, now you want to talk? I stood up slowly and straightened my blazer. I walked through the office with calm, deliberate steps while half the team stared at their screens, pretending they weren't reading the email too. When I stepped into Amanda's glass-walled office, I closed the door behind me and said, "You erased me, so now I'm going to make sure they know exactly what was erased." She blinked like she didn't understand, but she would. Amanda sat frozen in her chair, blinking at me like a deer in headlights. Her usual slick confidence was gone. She always wore these expensive blazers and called herself a people-first leader, but now she looked like a student who forgot the homework. "I think this is a misunderstanding," she said quickly. "People didn't know if you were coming back. We had to keep things moving." "By deleting my name from every document?" I asked. She glanced toward the glass wall, then lowered her voice. "Look, we didn't delete anything on purpose." The team adjusted. I didn't reply. I just dropped a small printed sheet onto her desk. It showed timestamps from the project tracker. My name had been removed from 6 accounts within 4 days of my surgery. "Adjusted," I repeated. "Sure." Amanda stared at the paper, her mouth tight. I could feel the shift happening in her. She wasn't trying to help me. She was trying to protect herself. And now she was calculating how deep this might go. "I'd appreciate it if we kept this internal," she said carefully. "No need to involve legal or the clients." "Already did," I said, standing up. They replied. I walked out before she could speak again. By noon, the emails had snowballed. Legal wanted a full report. The VP of Client Services scheduled a video meeting with me directly. One of our major clients demanded that I be reinstated as the account lead or they'd walk. That alone caused a panic. The client was worth $1.6 million a year. By 3 p.m., Brett, the guy who told me I was lucky to even have a desk, stood awkwardly by the copier while I printed out notes for the VP call. He didn't say anything, just kept glancing at me like I was a grenade. I didn't speak to him. Not yet. But the real twist came at 4:17 p.m. when I got a text. It was from Javier, one of the graphic designers. "Javier, hey, I didn't know how dirty they did you until today. I also have something you should see. Check your inbox." Attached was a screenshot of a Slack conversation from 3 months ago, the day after my surgery. It was between Amanda, Brett, and Lauren, the one who took over my office. They joked about how I probably wasn't coming back. How it was a clean break. Brett even said, "Honestly, we should have made this change a year ago. She's solid but boring. Clients want flash." Amanda responded, "We'll ease her out if she returns. She can handle a transition period or do admin stuff." Admin stuff. The woman who built their systems, carried their biggest accounts, worked nights and weekends, admin stuff. I read that message 5 times. Then I forwarded the screenshot to the VP of Legal and the VP of Client Services with one line. Thought this might help clarify the intent. The next day, HR sent out an all-staff email saying that project oversight protocols were under review and that interim changes would be made to the management team. Amanda wasn't in the office. Brett was quiet. Lauren avoided eye contact. But that wasn't the end. Remember that vendor issue I'd been tracking? The inconsistencies, the overcharges? Now that legal was involved, I finally had the leverage to expose it. I spent that evening combing through every invoice and expense report tied to Brett and Amanda's projects. There were thousands in unexplained costs, recurring charges for expedited design work that didn't match delivery timelines. Vague line items like production consultation, billed from shell LLCs. I wrote up a clean, professional report, attached files, highlighted patterns. Then I sent it straight to legal. Took 4 days before I got a response. Legal. Thank you. This supports an active investigation. Please do not discuss this with others at this time. We may require additional statements. Something had cracked, and I wasn't going to stop. The office got real quiet over the next week. People didn't talk in the open anymore. The break room was empty half the time. I noticed some folks started wearing headphones full-time just to avoid conversation. The Slack channels went dead, except for company-wide updates. Amanda didn't come back. Word was she was on administrative leave, though nobody said it out loud. Brett, he was still there, but his title was gone from his email signature. Just his name now. No senior account manager. No lead. Lauren moved back into the bullpen after someone told her she'd be sharing space for now. She didn't even pack up my old office. Just left it, awkward and half-decorated, like it was waiting to see who survived. But I wasn't just sitting around. The VP of Client Services had scheduled me into every major client meeting that week. They all wanted answers: why their campaigns had been reassigned, why communication dropped during my leave, why deliverables had been late. I gave them the facts, nothing more. But I made sure to include how I had tried to protect continuity before my surgery, how I documented everything, how I wasn't told about any changes. Just like them, one client, a nonprofit out of Charlottesville, actually paused their contract mid-call and said, "We're not paying another invoice until this is sorted." That one call hit accounting hard. The tension finally cracked when HR called a full department meeting the following Monday. It was led by Shelley, the director of HR, and 2 people from legal. They said it was about alignment and department integrity, but no one smiled. They passed out paper packets. Each one had a different colored corner. My packet had a green tab. Brett's was red. The meeting was short. Amanda had officially resigned, effective immediately. Legal was continuing its audit of vendor expenses and project changes. All current team structures were under review. Then they made us do something I hadn't seen in 9 years there. They asked everyone to relist their current client responsibilities, where they got them, and who approved the transitions. Paper trail time. I listed every account I had pre-leave. I also added a final line: no one informed me of any account change. No written approval. I was not consulted at any point. I saw Brett glance at my sheet. He didn't write for a long time. When he handed his in, I swear his hand was shaking. 2 nights later, I got a call at home. Unknown number. It was Lauren. I almost didn't answer, but I did. Her voice was small. "I didn't know how bad it was," she said. "They told me you were gone and that your accounts were up for grabs. I didn't mean to take your office." I stayed silent. "I'm not trying to make excuses," she added quickly. "But Amanda said you'd probably quit. She said we needed someone more modern on the big clients. And Brett, he told me you'd never come back." I waited, letting the silence press. "Why are you telling me this now?" I finally asked. "Because HR called me in today," she said. "They asked about Slack messages, the project tracker. They showed me an email chain I didn't even remember sending. I'm scared I'm getting fired." I didn't say sorry. I just said, "Maybe you should be." She didn't call again. A few days after that, I got an invite to meet with the CEO. Small company, so we rarely saw her unless it was the holiday party or a disaster. This time, it was both. I sat in a sleek conference room while she thanked me for flagging serious concerns and said words like cultural rebuilding and long-term trust. She asked if I'd consider stepping into a temporary leadership role. I didn't say yes right away, but I didn't say no. Before I left her office, I asked one thing. What happens to the people who erased me? She paused for a second, then said, they'll wish they hadn't. 2 weeks after that meeting, I was given the title, Interim Director of Strategic Accounts. Not permanent, not flashy, but it gave me access budget sheets, performance reviews, archived Slack channels, expense logs, hiring records, and more importantly, the authority to demand answers without waiting on someone above me. The HR team looped me in on the vendor audit. We started comparing invoices against the projects Brett and Amanda had managed. I found out Brett had been submitting rush order payments to a design vendor that didn't exist. The LLC was real, but the bank account belonged to his cousin out in Phoenix. Every payment was under the internal threshold for automatic review. Death by 1,000 small thefts. Amanda signed off on most of them. She claimed oversight in her exit interview. But I found an email where she asked Brett to break up the charges to avoid triggering compliance. They weren't sloppy. They were calculated. I sent everything to legal. Within 48 hours, the company filed civil fraud charges against both of them. But I wasn't prepared for what came after. I was at home one evening, eating leftover Thai food, when I got a message on LinkedIn. It was from Brett's wife, Sarah. I didn't know her personally, just saw her once at a company picnic years ago. She was always smiling, always tagging Brett in those annoying motivational quote posts. Power couples hustle together kind of stuff. Her message was short. I just found out everything. Thank you for exposing him. You probably saved me and my kids. That hit harder than I expected. Turns out, Brett had been using some of that vendor money to fund a side relationship with someone in Baltimore. Hotel charges, plane tickets, conference fees. Sarah found out after the lawsuit hit and the accounts got frozen. She filed for divorce the same week, took the kids and moved back to her sister's in Ohio. I heard through a mutual friend that Brett's oldest, Jake, who was about 15, told him he never wanted to see him again. He watched his dad get handcuffed outside their house, the friend said. That stuff sticks. Amanda didn't get handcuffed, but her name got dragged. Word of the vendor fraud hit a local business news blog. Not front page, but visible enough. Her name was listed in the article. So was her title. So was the company. When I ran into a former intern a few months later, she said Amanda had tried applying to her new company and got rejected fast. They Googled her, she said, shrugging. That was it. The last I heard, Amanda moved to Charlotte to live with her brother. Not working, not updating her LinkedIn. Lauren stayed. For a while, she was quiet, humble. She started treating the admin staff better, helped the new hires, stopped showing off. One day, I asked her, why'd you really take my office that fast? You could have said no. She didn't even try to lie. I wanted to be seen, she said. I'd been here 2 years, and no one noticed me. When Amanda offered it, I thought, maybe this is my break. I didn't forgive her, but I understood her. Still, she eventually left the company on her own. Said she was tired of always looking over her shoulder. Said the guilt stuck too deep. I got what I asked for, she told me, but I hate how I got it. The CEO made my position permanent a month later. I still don't trust most people at work. I come in early. I document everything. I keep clean records and I never let anyone take credit for what isn't theirs. Some people smile at me like I'm a little scary. Maybe I am, but I gave years to that company. And when I got sick, when I was out of sight for just a little while, they didn't hesitate to cut me out. Toss me in the corner. Pretend I was nothing. Now I sit in the glass office Amanda once ruled from. I've trained my replacement twice now. Every person I promote knows this rule. You treat people right when they're not in the room. That's the only thing that counts.